Hey, and welcome to today's episode. On today's episode, I get to hang out in real life with a friend of mine who has already been on the podcast, but now we're going to talk about some even more epic things. So welcome to the podcast, Frank Elaridi.
Thank you so much.
I'm super excited to have you here.
I'm so excited to have you here.
You are such a cool demonstration of the power of it, like a 3.5 self-directed projector. You know, like I remember the first time we talked about human design, you were just like, yeah.
Oh yeah.
And just watching your evolution, it's just been so cool. And I know we had a conversation via Instagram, I think, I don't know if it was a couple of months ago, and even just listening to this evolution of yours, like you just become more and more of that. I often say like the Yoda, like projectors are like, if you can learn to be Yoda and sit on your cushion and then allow the people to come to you and learn from you. And I just feel like you've really, really embodied that.
Wow, you know what's so crazy about you saying that too is I remember our first conversation years ago, and you said like, wow, you're really living your design, and I was really resonating with everything you said, but it doesn't even compare to how I'm living it now. Like I thought I was living it then, so it only goes to show how your work can, the more you go deeper and deeper into it, it's not like, okay, I got it. There's always more layers where you're like, oh wow, yes, you sink deeper into that. Like just our conversation that we had today, or even a few months ago on Instagram, I realized how even more I can sink into human design.
Yeah, it's so true. And there is no, there's no bottom. You're not done. It's like life. We're never done. There's always something else that is unfolding or something to learn. But yeah, love that. So my audience, we talk a lot about business. Okay, so we're going to dive into like actually having a line 3 experience of what you do. But I want to talk about business because like your career started as an Emmy Award-winning mainstream journalist, and you took a big left turn. So tell me a little bit about that. Like, how did you know it was time to get out of a really successful career and turn in a completely different direction?
Yeah, and you know what's so crazy too is I feel more successful now because of how happy I am. But always, if I'm on a podcast, the first question is about my like journalism and winning 4 Emmys, being on red carpets and interviewing celebrities and royalty and being on private jets. I get it, like that looks like success. But even as I talked to you, we had a conversation prior to this about how burned out I was and how long it took me to regulate my nervous system after leaving ABC News and Good Morning America, but not to discount how incredible that experience was either. And even now, like when I think about the experiences I've had, when people bring them up, I mean, they are amazing. But I just knew, like there was a moment, maybe 5 years ago, 6 years ago now, where I just knew, I'm like, I can't do this anymore. This isn't my life. This isn't, like at one point, I really wanted the Emmys. I really wanted the awards. I really wanted the YouTube plaque. I wanted all of that. And when I got it all, I realized like, this is actually not what I want. And I was chasing an image of like, oh, the people I went to high school with are expecting me because I always said I would be an Emmy winner, and they're expecting me to be this thing, and I can't. They're gonna think that I failed if I leave. If I leave, they're gonna think, oh well, it just didn't work out for him, so he stopped. Whereas no, it was getting better and better and better. But I realized like, do I want to like what would be the end goal of that? Is me having my own show, sitting at the anchor desk, doing these interviews, having like a Larry King style show. And when I thought about it, I'm like, I'm chasing the image that I always thought I wanted, but it's not actually what I want. And it's crazy because if you look at human design or astrology, you realize that's actually the time in my life that was meant for me to make that change. And it was going to happen anyway.
Yeah.
And it's just like when you don't resist it, but you follow it, things just work out. And I feel so much more fulfilled now. Like the book deals, the podcast, and all these things I never planned for. They just appear. And I like somebody goes, do you want to write a book on this topic? And I'm like, yeah, actually I do, And so it's like I'm not having to create from a place of chasing. It's more of just like, oh, what's out there? What can I do? What feels good right now? And I follow that.
I love it. And I mean, to me, that is alignment, like we did speak about earlier about your book. I want to hear about, like, what is this book that's been waiting 5 years to be born into the world?
It's so crazy, Emma, because it's not what you would think at all. Like, I was actually writing and am writing right now. I'm finishing up my third, what will be now my third book. I thought it would be my second one.
Yeah.
Because I have an Oracle deck that came out in 2020, the Modern Nirvana Oracle deck that I co-wrote. And this one is a fiction book about witches. It's called The Witches in Calabasas.
Wow.
And Calabasas is a town here. It's like where the Kardashians live, and people know it for, like, you know, it's a very trendy but quiet town, you know? And so I wrote this book, and it's totally fiction, young adult, fun, magic, but also a lot of, like, life lessons.
Yeah.
The magic is really between the words. It's not like Harry Potter magic where they're, like, zapping each other with laser beams. It's like they do magic, they're doing rituals, magical things definitely happen, they're defying physics, but most of the book is the magic between the characters and what's happening, and, like, oh, this person who's really this powerful heiress is actually deeply insecure and looking for validation, and all these other human dynamics. So it is actually very human design too, but it's it's a fiction book that I really had shelved for 5 years until the invitation came one day. I had told a friend of mine who's a Hollywood producer about the book in 2020. And now in 2025, I get a call from her and him. It's a producing partnership. And they're like, we have a deal now with Macmillan, one of the biggest publishers in the world, and we want to publish your book and maybe turn it into a TV series. And I was like, okay, like, now it feels right, you know, and I did it. No agent, no planning, nothing. And it's all happening so fast. It's moving so quickly. They're like, okay, we're going to launch in February, an October official launch for around Halloween because it's witches. And all of this is happening completely by me just watching it happen.
Oh, God, I love it so much. And these are literally the principles we teach every day. You know, when you were speaking, I was thinking about the Celestine prophecy. You know, I think there's so many stories out there now that it's fiction, but there's so much to be learned. And when you said it's, you know, the magic's also between the words, I'm like, it's so similar. And
that's where it's at.
I think a lot of the time I wonder, because I think you can say so much more in fiction than you can if you're trying to write a book, a non-fiction book. You know, like these days it's all about the research and the this and the that. So, yep, I'm sure it's a great story, but I bet, knowing you, there's epic lessons in there. Exactly.
It's woven in. And I actually, when I wrote it, I rewrote in 2020 during the pandemic. I rewrote The Great Gatsby word for word.
Wow.
Because I wanted to get into the head of a traditional writer before I wrote mine. So I literally I had it on the left side, and on the right side I just retyped it word for word, as though I was writing The Great Gatsby. And then right after I finished, I wrote mine.
That's amazing. What did you notice changed about the way you were writing and thinking?
That's a great question. It put me into a state more than like learning, like with the mind. It put me into the state of like that kind of a writer. I don't know how to explain it. I went into a flow, you know, where a lot of times I would just type and I'd be watching it and I'm reading it and I'm typing at the same time, not even really thinking, and I'm just typing the whole thing. And I literally rewrote The Great Gatsby word for word.
Wow.
And it was interesting because I had a friend at the time, like insanely rich guy in Palm Springs, and he bought, while I was writing it, the car that Robert Redford drove in the original Great Gatsby movie. It was like this green Rolls Royce, I think it was. A green Rolls Royce, and he had it and let me drive it around in Palm Springs.
Oh my goodness.
Yeah.
And I'm just like, my human design antenna's geeking out, because I'm like, I feel like as a projector, you're just taking on all the energy of these things, you know, like literally taking it in, amplifying it, and then reflecting it back, but through your own voice.
I wonder if that's what happens, like if this is a projector thing. I did a video about Michael Jackson like 10 years ago on YouTube. Yeah. Got millions of views, and it was with this friend of mine, Carlo, who's a Michael Jackson impersonator. And we brought in a witch who was on a TV show here in Hollywood, and she did a seance where we call in the spirit of Michael Jackson while we're sitting in front of a Michael Jackson impersonator who looks like the splitting image. So it's a very interesting concept, but for a week leading up to that shoot, every single time I turned on the radio, the TV, anything, it was Michael Jackson, Michael Jackson, Michael Jackson. If I turn on Spotify, new Michael Jackson anniversary playlist, like whatever it was. The day the interview finished, it never happened again. It ended.
Wow.
After that interview.
That is crazy.
Isn't that wild?
That's crazy. I love it. Like, talk about, you know, what we focus on is what we draw towards us.
Yeah,
you know,
yeah.
like it really was giving you, I don't know, like all of this opportunity to interact with Michael Jackson
really
and learn.
it.
And yeah.
Same with the book, right? It was like I really absorbed. I got so entrenched into that world when I was writing it. And then I like came out of it. I haven't even read the book in 5 years. Even now, as they're publishing it, I never went through and like made edits. I probably should. Like it probably needs work. No edits, nothing.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh my God, I love it. And I love that you didn't do any edits. I think that's also, we strive because, you know, you've kind of alluded to it. We strive because we've been fed what success is.
Yeah.
And, you know, your story that we opened with, really, you talk about, I was doing this for the kids that I grew up with, and, you know, this was the career path. And now you're doing it for you.
Yeah.
And I love that. I think that's what we all, you know, really need to understand. You know, it's about what's inside us that wants to be expressed. So I'm actually fascinated about modern Nirvana, because this was something that you loved and it was successful and it looked like it had all this potential to keep going that way. Yet again, my human design brain is like, were you following your energy? Because it must take courage, again, to say no to something that's on this trajectory already. It's not like you need to do any more to get it onto this successful trajectory.
Yeah.
And then again, you chose to do something different. So tell us a little bit about that.
I think it's like, and I learned this from you, is that we learn as 3 5s through experience and through mistakes. And not that Modern Nirvana was a mistake, because it was incredible and it was growing. Like you said, we were on year 3, and just then we were getting approached by investors, by more people wanting to be involved, different projects. And when I say we, it's because it was me and 2 business partners and friends. And it became so obvious, and you know, I have to follow energy.
Yeah.
Where I was like, this just is becoming so forced, and the energy is just not right. It's 3 people and going 3 different directions, and we weren't in like perfect alignment. And I don't think that that's a bad thing either. It's just more like, look, this isn't working clearly, so pivot. And I feel like my life was just pivots, and it still kind of is, but in the last 5 years, it's been way more like, I know now, this is my path, this is what I'm supposed to do. And however that looks is how it'll look. I can't force my mind to decide how that's gonna look, you know? And so, no, it was actually a very easy decision for me personally. Like, it was like, I just know that it wasn't easy as far as logistics, that was difficult. As far as like, you know, everything, moving things and ending LLCs and all the stuff, the logistics, right? But energetically, it was so easy. And you know, the way you know is how it felt after. Like the second I made the decision and just was in my space and in my energy, I was like, oh yeah, that definitely was the right move. You know?
I love it.
Connect with love.
Yeah, well, and I definitely want to get around to that, because I feel like this journey that people from the outside, they see all this success. Let's talk about that pivot. Like now the business that you have, how you live your life, how you serve, it's really different. And the old school, and especially because you're here in Hollywood, you're still so connected to this industry.
Yeah.
And yet you're choosing to take a path that it's not a well-trodden path. You know, sometimes it's even something that people aren't even talking about, let alone experiencing. But it's also this, but why don't you want the mansions, and why don't you want the this, and why don't you want the that? Like, do you ever find yourself having to justify your choices to these people? Like,
no, luckily no, I don't. They get it. But you know what's interesting about what you said, because it's a big lesson that I learned recently, is like, for myself, don't accept or reject anything. So it's like the mansion, for example. If it comes, great. Why not? But I'm not rejecting it or accepting it.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like if I end up having a client who's like, look, I want us to have a castle in Europe and that'll be your new home, but also our healing center, and then now I'm living in a castle in Europe, then that's what I'll be doing. But if I'm meant to go live in Joshua Tree and get a house and be isolated in the desert for a year while I work out certain energies that are moving within me, then I'll go do that. You know, but it's like, I'm not planning either way.
Yeah.
Like even now, I think I'm moving to Joshua Tree in March. I think.
Yeah.
You know, that's what I feel is gonna happen, but I'm not planning. I'm not actively looking for anything right now,
yeah.
but that's where I feel I'll be living in March.
I love this. So I'm going to pivot a little bit because it's something that I've really myself been playing with and talking a bit about, because I feel like the way I'm saying it is manifestation is changing, but I don't think manifestation is changing. I think we're changing, because I think we're coming from this, you know, you got to work hard to manifest what you want. And to me, I've always been a bit like, really? Because we're already doing it. Like, we didn't know we were doing it, but we were already doing it. And I feel like we're moving towards this new, like, it's all about our frequency. It's all about how we feel. And I find my experience is the less I'm attached to anything. It's how my book deal showed up. You know, even the success we have in the business. We just had our most successful launch with something that wasn't even meant to really be a launch. It was just this little quiet launch because we were creating something, and it was huge.
Wow.
And I feel like as soon as I started to let go of what I think I wanted and what I thought I needed, and instead just followed my design, and I know the frequency I'm stepping into, whether that's because I've worked with my design for many years, or I am a Piscean who daydreams, and that's always been, like, if I'm daydreaming about something, it happens. So I would just really love, because I know that you've had this real evolution from this is the 3D world and this is how I make it happen, to now you're kind of like, nah, that's a total, like, that is not real. Yeah. I'm living a really different life. So can you really talk to me, and this is a big question, but you're a projector, you're good for it. Let's talk about creation. Like, what do you see for you, and where are we going, do you think, in this whole manifestation journey?
Man, I have to tell you, manifesting was like my biggest trigger word for so long.
Yeah.
And I don't know if you know, but in 2024, it was the #1 word in the Webster's Dictionary, as in like the most used word online.
Wow.
Everybody on social media, I manifested this, I manifested that, so I started to get cringy. And, you know, a big part of it for me, and now I'm more accepting of it, is that, and it's, maybe we are changing, and this would be a great move, because people were using spirituality to serve their ego. That's not spiritual, because in my head, I'm like, okay, manifest a yacht. Who actually is enjoying the yacht? Who is the one manifesting it? Who's the one that wanted it? So always go back to self-inquiry. And it's the answer really to everything. We can use it toward manifesting, but even toward healing, toward anything. It's like, but who is it that wants the yacht? And so let's say you got it, fine. That's really cool, but it's still, you've manifested nothing because you've manifested something in a dream world. And eventually, you have to let go of everything. And grandmothers and stuff would say, like, you don't take it with you. But if you really think about what that means, even this body is not yours. Eventually, you have to let anything that's impermanent is not you. So the yacht, not you. This body, not you. The mind, not you. Anything, if it's impermanent, it's not you. You were before that. So then ask, what was I? What was I 100 years ago? Who was I 100 years ago? Really ask. They told me I was born. You believe that, and you just took it your whole life. When were you born? You can't be born, you can't die, but if you're hearing this right now from your body identification, you're like, you're crazy. Of course I was born. I was in the womb for 9 months. You're not the body. When were you born? At some point around age between like 3 and 7, consciousness enters to the point where you go, I am Emma. I am Frank. These are my parents. And a whole identity starts to get created. And now you've believed the whole thing because they told you were born and that you're this person, and your whole life you just believed it. And so that person is the one wanting to manifest the yacht, the whatever else. But really go inward, and you realize, like, and again, don't reject it, don't accept it. If that's your path, it's gonna happen anyway. You're gonna be on the yacht. Everything is predestined. The only thing that's free will, from my perspective, from where I'm sitting, the only thing that's free will is when are you going to wake up? You get to decide. You can come back 1,000 more lives. You can live this however you want. Everything is predestined. It's going to happen as it happens. But free will is your choice. At any moment, you can say, you know what? I'm not playing this game of tag anymore. Karma, limitations, dharma, you did this to me. I'm going to come back and do this to you, and you'll be my mom, and then you're going to do this, and then I'm going to... At any moment, that's what liberation, self-realization, people call it enlightenment, but who is enlightened? A figure in a dream cannot be enlightened. It's the observer. Once you realize the observer, that's now conscious living, because that's consciousness. which is amazing. From the state of consciousness, you create, you live this world. But even consciousness, you were prior to that. You're the thing that consciousness arose within. You're this big empty space, pure infinite awareness. Awareness is not a thing that you can grasp or name, or it's just awareness. But within that awareness arose consciousness, and consciousness said, I am. I am. And from I am, everything starts to come, right? Come out, I am this, I am that, I am this, I am that. And all these things start to happen. And it's cool, it's a fun, creative, amazing world. And there's nothing wrong with, like, not only, it doesn't make you disconnected. In my perspective, it actually makes you more involved. But involved from a detached place of like, I'm just gonna watch it and live it fully. Rather than like your mind jumps in and starts to control it and change it and, you know, fine tune.
Yeah, or care what anyone else thinks, or let fear stop you, or it comes from a place of curiosity, like that deep curiosity of, I wonder what this is, let's allow it to unfold.
And then if people are judging you or they're whatever, you realize they're judging a figure in a dream. Yeah. So then you feel, even then, you're like, okay, judge that figure in a dream, it's not me.
Yeah.
You know, if you need my character to be your villain or your whatever, great, do that. That's your story. But I don't attach to this character. The way I look at it is like the slate is clean. In fact, the book that I'm writing now, chapter 10, the ending is the slate is clean. And it's all about just wipe the slate clean. Whatever this person did to you, whatever that, because the past or guilt and shame, this person did this or I did this, it keeps past real. It makes linear time real. Your ego loves guilt and shame because it's like, okay, now the past is real because this guilt exists in the past. And there must be a future to atone for that past. So now linear time is real. Your ego is holding that stability based on guilt and shame. And then the next thing that it does, guilt and shame, which is even more, I think, profound, is it makes God or that infinite divine love or whatever separate from you. Because now there must be this outward thing that's going to punish me or that's going to be mad at me or whatever else. So now we've projected what's always been within, we've projected it outward. And it's all from guilt and shame.
Yeah.
And that's why I love to clear that from people. It's my favorite thing when that comes up in a session, guilt and shame, because it's like the ego's biggest stronghold.
Oof, I love that. Oh my goodness. And let's talk about what you specifically do. Because I know when we first spoke, we spoke about emotion code, but now I feel like it's so much more than that. And even if it's just the energy that you bring is so much more. But let's talk about, you know, what specifically and how specifically you're helping people now.
Yeah, it's interesting because I met 3 people in the same year, in the same month, and it was the magnets that I'll use, like if we do a session even now.
Yeah, let's do it.
One of them, I have several magnets I use, but one of them is this one from a curandera in Mexico who helped me learn how to use magnets to clear energy. And her way was very different from Bradley Nelson, who taught me emotion code and body code, and then very different from African shamans who also use magnetic energy in the hands to clear things from the body. And I learned from all of them. And so, you know, what was really beautiful about emotion code is it taught me that I was a healer. And I only had learned it for myself. I didn't think I would be practicing it. But then more and more I started doing it, and more seeing people get cleared of things like even cancers. They would come and do 6 sessions and not even do treatments and be cured. I don't like to use that word, but you know what I mean. They were no longer expressing cancer. Or eating disorders, fights with their spouses, not being able to be in the same room with their mother, like all these things. And all of a sudden they're like, oh yeah, my mom's watching my dog next week, we're going on a picnic, and like all these amazing things.
Love it.
But what started to happen is exactly what you just said. You're so tuned in, it's amazing, but it's now a frequency. And I still do a lot of emotion code and body code. We can do it now. And it's because I do like how fine-tuned it is, but there's always a subtle frequency that I can't explain that's happening. And I can even sometimes identify, like I'll wake up in the morning with my eyes being so red and sore or something, and that never happens. And I'll get on my client session and they'll be like, I want to work today on my sensitive eyes, or you know, something like that. Or the next day, maybe I'll see something about red clover, and then I'll start taking it. And the next day it tells me to tell this person to take red clover. Whatever it is, like there's always something where I'm like, wow, interesting that whatever's happening within me is happening for my clients and vice versa.
Yeah.
And so there's really an energy exchange and a healing that's happening that's undescribable at this point. I'm trying to figure out, because I'm seeing how in the next year it's evolving and changing. but it's happening in such profound ways, and it's really dependent on the client who I'm working with.
And you know what I love is that, you know, you also just describe the oneness, the hologram of the universe that we're told about, but we're kind of like, how do we get our head around it?
Right.
And you're literally, line 3, my line 3 friend, giving us that example. And that example of the hologram is you wake up with the red eyes, or you're drinking the clover tea, because the hologram is a small piece of everything. So you're a piece of everything. So literally that connection with the client that perhaps you haven't even met yet is already happened because it's already in the hologram.
And then even further than that, it's like, why can I clear it? All my sessions are remote. So why am I clearing it from them and they're in Nashville and I'm in LA? Because it's all one.
Exactly.
So when I clear it, I'm clearing it from me for you. And I've even done them before on podcasts, for example, or at conferences where we're doing a group healing. So I'll say, everybody that's listening right now, beyond time and space, you can listen in a year or you can listen now, has something where they're allergic to being called a victim, for example, and I'll clear that. And then you start seeing the comments and somebody will be like, I wrote this morning on my fridge, I am not a victim. And then I listened to this podcast, I'm randomly doing the dishes, and he said, you have this allergy to being called a victim. And this person said, as he cleared it, I started shaking and crying. Wow. And then I started paying attention to the podcast because she was listening just in the background.
Yeah.
And so it's really interesting now to see how groups can be cleared of whatever we're all carrying, this collective energy that we came here with in this room together today. We all have this fear. Let's just clear that. Oof. And you see it. It's just wild what's happening now.
Yeah. And I think it's that, you know, as consciousness rises, we are now becoming aware of how connected we are through things, modalities like this. It's so true. Exciting.
And more energy workers. And I have clients who are like accountants and executives and first ladies of countries and like things like that. And they're like, Frank, I think I'm a healer. I think I'm supposed to be a healer. And I'm like realizing now that there's 2 people that I'm really drawing, like that are coming to me at this moment. And it's people who are meant to be healers themselves. And that doesn't mean publicly like that you have to be a healer, right? You can keep your job, but you are healing people in your life. And the other is that people who are the ones that are meant to come in and heal their family. Like they are that missing gene, that key that is there to clear the ancestral, whatever it is, the baggage that we came in with.
Yeah, I love that.
And they're like that one.
Yeah, that is so cool. So let's go. Let's have an example of it. Let's have a play.
You're no stranger to this, so you know how it works. Okay. All right, so I always ask by first seeing if there's a specific intention, or if you, and actually now more and more I just love seeing where spirit takes us. So do you have a preference?
Maybe me, I'm like, my intention is to clear whatever is in my highest and best good.
Okay, good. I love that intention. Okay. All right, so I'm here only to be truly helpful. I'm here to represent spirit who sent me, and I do not have to worry about what to say or what to do because spirit directs me. I am content to be wherever you wish, knowing that you go there with me, and I will be healed as I let you teach me to heal with Emma. Okay, good. Can you pray for Emma? It's the first thing energetic system. Okay, so the first thing it's taking me to is in your body. Something in the body is also short. Okay, it's in This is interesting because it's personal, but it's come up a lot with almost every single person I've worked with in the last month, every woman, which is the majority of my clients. But there's an imbalance somewhere in your reproductive system. It's actually in the mammary glands. So these are the glands in the breast that produce milk. And we're going to find out the underlying reason why. There's a message, like a negative message that's being broadcasted out. There's a lot of positive ones, but there's a negative one. And so people are picking up this message. Do we need to know more? Can we clear this? From age 48, and the broadcast is I'm unworthy, and it's at age 48. And it's not work related, it's relationship related.
That's when I split up with my husband.
At 48?
Yeah.
Yeah, there you go. So there was something in there around worthiness too.
Well, interestingly, my human design really helped me see, like, it was always lovability. I just never really felt lovable.
And that was the only thing in the mammary glands, nothing else.
Yeah, wow. Yeah. It's really crazy because the lovability from a human design perspective comes from the G center. I've got a wide open G center. It sits right here.
Wow, right there.
So it's like all in the same place.
And I can see, is that your specific human design or everybody?
Well, anyone who's got an undefined. So you have a defined G center. So you have consistent, reliable lovability. You have access to that higher love all the time. Whereas mine, I don't. Like it comes on and off.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And there's another thing here. It's like an allergy that you have to a specific idea, not even a physical allergy. Okay, go ahead. But it's from a young age, before the age of 15. It's not maybe how you feel now, because I don't see this in you now, but it's from age 16. There was an allergy to the idea of life. So it's kind of vague. It's general. Anything come to mind?
No, I mean, I think the allergy to the idea of life, like the first thing that comes to mind is that I used to be terrified of death.
It says it's related.
So, yeah, I feel like potentially it's around that, like it's more that fear of death. And it's funny because in my entire journey, my spiritual journey, now there's no fear whatsoever because I know I can't die.
Yeah, exactly.
But yeah, maybe that. And I did have, I could have been 16, I don't remember the age, but it was in my teens. A friend of mine died very suddenly, and like, although I didn't see it, she was riding her horse and in the cross-country paddock, and I was riding my horse down to meet her, and all of a sudden I saw a helicopter land in the back paddock, and in that instant I just knew that she was gone.
How old were you?
I think I was 16. It was around that age.
Yeah, it's related.
Yeah, and it was very much, it was really huge. I had another friend, weirdly around the horses, die as well. Like she was literally out competing one day. She went down the centre line to salute the judge and just fell off dead. And that was definitely 16, 17, around there, because I remember I wrote all this poetry for my year 12 and, I got really good marks because I was like, I'm just pouring out my heart here. So I remember that being a big deal around there.
Yeah. There's also an allergy to the idea. So sometimes people have an allergy to the idea of spending money, saving money, whatever. But yours is money in general, but it's from the age of 27. But it says that in order to clear it, we need to know what this was.
So it's crazy. Again, in human design, this is the year before our Saturn return. Saturn return, I was diagnosed with depression and panic disorder, so the year after. And up until that was the time where I actually resigned from my successful advertising career, and went and did something more local. I went and managed an equestrian property and rode and that sort of stuff. And yeah, I'd never been so poor in my life.
Wow.
And we were just living paycheck to paycheck. It was awful.
And knowing that allowed me to clear it.
Awesome.
So that's exactly what it was. So it's good too that you know your life really well. Because a lot of times, I mean, not good or bad either way, but it's really helpful for podcasts,
Yeah.
Because sometimes people are like, I don't know what that was. And they'll say that over and over in a session. And then they'll email me the next day with, oh my God, I know exactly what that was,
Yeah.
So that's what it was. Let's clear one more thing, and it's actually going to be it's something in the body again. Yeah, this has been coming up a lot too, where I'm working on people's skeleton body, which wasn't really happening a lot before. So it's going to be good. Okay. Somewhere in the vertebrae, in your vertebrae. Yeah, it's in your thoracic part. So let's find out where. And it's in T3. So specifically T3, and the associated mouth is energetic. Okay, that's dramatic, it's offensive. Usually if I'm doing a session, I'll tell everybody too, what T3 is, what it's for, but I want to just find out the underlying reason. And it's in your case, it's an entity that attached to you. These are really good to clear before and it's interesting that it's coming up for your highest good, because in the past we've always cleared around your business or around speaking, podcasts, anything like that. And in this case, when we just let spirit do what it wants to do, it wants to clear this entity that attached you when you were a kid. Yeah, when you were 7. Do we need to know more? Can we clear this? Okay, good. So let's just clear that.
And then you've got to tell me exactly where that is.
Where it is?
Yeah.
Oh, it's in the vertebrae.
Okay, but whereabouts? Like
what was it? 3 or 7? So that's kind of in the middle.
3.
Yeah. Okay. 3. So it's sort of in the middle.
Middle of my back. So would that be like around here?
Around there. Yeah. Yeah.
So
I wonder if I can even pull up a photo of it.
Yeah, so you can. So I literally have had a knot in that position most of my adult life, and I've just noticed.
Oh, it's exactly there. It's exactly there. Yeah. So that's the thoracic, you know. So it's like this would be your upper. This is like the mid, and it's T3. So it's about there.
That is crazy.
Wow. Yeah.
So yeah, and it's also, I just had a session just before I left Australia with my osteo, and he was working on exactly the same position.
Wow.
And he's like, it's connected to your heart. And even more than that, I have always had like a bit of like rolled shoulders. And in the gym, I've been working on straightening them up, and it's been crazy, all the energetic, like opening my heart, clearing all that. So it does not surprise me that would come up as well.
I've been on that same journey, by the way. As I've been opening up, I'm noticing how it, like energetically, things open up. I'm more open. You're more fluid, you know.
Yeah.
There's the last thing is that there's this is not, so that entity was the only thing that was there, nothing else.
Yeah, beautiful.
There's this entity that was causing it up, but now there's an emotion that wants to be cleared too, and it's the emotion of bitterness.
Stop it. I'll just hear what else you have to say.
And it's probably related again to your separation because it's at 49.
Stop it.
49.
So my ex was, my ex is a projector, and they're the not self theme of bitterness. And I have a lot of open centers, and as I've moved away, I realized how much of his energy I was picking up. So like when I hear you say that, I'm like, oh my God, you're literally clearing his not self, his bitterness from my system.
It's so true, because it could be, and you know, in a session too, usually I'll say like, is this shared? Is this picked up from somebody? But in this case, I just, what is the emotion? Let's just clear it. But is that a common thing with all projectors?
All projectors.
I noticed that even with me. I mean, not now, but as a teenager, there was so much like bitterness.
Yep. Yeah. So that's your not self theme. Yeah. And it's that the bitterness is telling you that you're out of your alignment. That means you're in your head, you're operating from conditioning, you're operating from fear. So as soon as bitterness shows up, that's out of alignment.
Wow. Okay. Yeah, that's what it is. So that's how it works.
Oh my God, it's so brilliant. And you know what I'm super excited about is like, because I know doing this with you in the past, like how all of a sudden over the next week or so, you'll just see, I'll see things actually in my external world just be different.
It's so true. Especially like the first thing we cleared was a broadcast. And the broadcast is I'm unworthy, so other people might pick that up. The good thing with you is that you have so much positive broadcast, so it might be like stifled, but it's still going to help to clear that. You
know, it's really weird. There was something, and I can't remember which specific one. I think it was my bio-tuning lady. She did something around something similar. This is a couple of weeks ago, and I literally went from feeling like, in my work, I feel seen, I feel acknowledged, but in life, I didn't.
Yeah.
And she cleared something along those lines, and all of a sudden, like everyone walking their dog, anyone I walk past, everyone's like, hi. I'm like, whoa. Yes. So I wonder if that's going to happen, because I know a lot of my healing, you know, especially at this time in my life, is more about relationship, because I didn't do all the healing and clearing and all of that sort of thing. So, which kind of leads me to, what is the purpose of doing this clearing? So if we're just walking around with this stuff completely unaware of it, when we start to realize that, okay, there are things that we can't see, that we don't know, how is this actually going to shift ourselves, our life?
Oh my God, countless ways, Emma, because like people will come in with actual physical ailments that are gone, and sometimes we're not even addressing them. Like I'll clear something and they'll be like, hey, I didn't tell you this in the session, but I don't know, somebody will say like, I throw up every day. And I'm not doing that anymore. Or somebody will say, I can crack my sternum. Like every time I go like this, it cracks. And it's been doing that for years. And after our session, it just stopped cracking. And they'll be like, I can't even force it to, you know? So those are physical things. And then there's other people who are like, I've always wanted to write a book, and now I feel like I can. Like we clear their throat chakra, let's say. Or other people who are like, I'm not sensual. We have no passion in my relationship. Like I'm not like that. It's usually women with their husbands like not comfortable, and then all of a sudden like that passion, that sexuality, that being comfortable in their feminine body comes out.
Yeah, wow.
Yeah, so there's so many ways I've seen that are just countless at this point.
And I love that you say that there's themes. You know,
every
again,
week. It's
like
crazy. Sometimes weeks, sometimes a month. where it's like skeletal body and uterus and mammary glands and ovaries, like all the reproductive system have been coming up with almost everyone.
That is so crazy. And because I would have thought that like the uterus, because that's definitely been a place that gets worked on my body.
For you, yeah.
But I also feel like that might be kind of done, you know, so it was really interesting. And I suppose, like, how do you see your work evolving? I know that you're kind of like, I'm on the road, I'm just going to see what's going to show up, but how do you feel you're going?
I feel like right now the priority is like the books. It's like getting instead of working with people so much one-on-one, which I'm still doing, but like right now we're filming this in November. My next available is April or May, I think, of next year.
I know.
Right? So
I know.
You know, it's like, or from, And so it's like a 5-6 month wait list at this point, and I think that I really want to show people, that's why I have this online community to awaken the healer within. It's like creating the environment, the group, and we do clearings. Like I'll clear for people almost every Sunday as well. And so within it, people will be like, oh, you know, I'm having a block here, and I'll just clear it really quick. But then we go into the teachings. And some weeks it's really focused on how to build your brand and your practice. And other times it's really focused on, you know, self, who am I? Or in the last Sunday group I did an astrology reading for everybody of like what to expect in November.
Yeah.
So I really like finding now more ways of expanding instead of having to just work with people one-on-one. So books, the online community, but also of course, I love working with people on one-on-one. I don't think that'll ever change. And I love when people book like a package with me instead of just one session, because, and you probably see this with your coaching, they can do one session and it's great. But when you watch somebody through a process of 6 months or 3 months, they're almost unrecognizable by the end.
Yeah, and I think there's also that part of you not only being the healer, but you're being the witness.
Yeah.
Because I think sometimes when we change, when we clear things, when we change our subconscious mind, we actually can't access those things anymore. And I know for me, not only as the coach, but also as the student or the person there being healed, it's really cool for someone to say, hey, you remember blah blah, and you're like, wow, actually I didn't remember, right? Because our brain will get rid of it when it's not relevant anymore.
And even people will tell me like, oh, you know, I don't feel that anymore. Like I've had people say I try to bring up that feeling of what I would feel, the abandonment, the whatever else, and they're like, I actually just don't feel it. It's not there. Yeah. They can't access it.
Yeah. And I think that's what's really cool. Like even I think about business, right? And whenever we're building a business, people want to tell their story and they go back to their, their moment in time or their dark night of their soul. And so often, like I can't go back there anymore. Like I've done so much clearing. I don't really remember. I don't really, like it's not accessible like it once was. And I do feel, again, this is the world that we're in right now. Everything's speeding up. Who we are this week is going to be someone completely different to who we are, 3 months, 5 years from now. And I think it's beautiful to watch you being such a role model in, well, business doesn't have to look like this one career that you signed up for in your 20s and you got to stick to it. It's something that you're allowing your energy in every facet to lead you.
Yeah, and look, it can be, you can always go back to the other thing if you end up feeling like I really wanted to do that again, and to know like, to stay open in the, well, how great can it be? Instead of being afraid of like, well, what could go wrong and all, because a million things your mind will show you can go wrong, but like that feeling of, well, how great could it actually be? And it's now like, this is what I would consider success. Not my friends who, even if they're getting more in Emmys and whatever else, but they're waking up at like 1 a.m. every day to get to work by 3 a.m. and work till 5 p.m. And I can't imagine that being my life. And the fact that I just wake up, I spend the first 4 hours in the garden with my cats, I make tea, I go take a walk, I'll, whatever. And then start my day, like everything is on my terms. I'm like, that's success.
Yeah, I love that. I love that. And I really feel like that's a really good place to almost finish. So before I let you go, what is something that you would really love all of my listeners to walk away with today?
Such a good question. I would say like really practice self-inquiry. I can't even explain what it's done in my life, only in the last year of like ramping it up to the point where it's like, it's never not happening. Yeah. Right? In every moment I'm like, well, who's feeling that? If I'm hungry during this interview, who feels the hunger? I'll ask. While we're having the conversation, like, who's feeling this? And then you realize the source of it, and then it goes away just by observing it. You don't have to do anything. Just observe. Who is it that's feeling the hunger? It's the body. Am I the body? No. Okay, so then you can just watch the hunger, and then goes away. So in every, like, that's such a small example, and then a major example of like getting into an argument or a fight with somebody. Who is it that's angry right now? If you feel triggered or whatever it is, if it's in your human design or you're building your business, who is it that wants this? But then also further of like, if somebody says something, you know, human design is the best way, I guess, for your audience to, I guess, put this together, what I'm trying to say of like, your human design, if you know your blueprint, then you can actually ask like, what part of me, you know, you've done this with your separation, what part of me right now is resisting this or is not seeing this? And then life just starts to move so much easier because you're not forcing it, you're just watching it. And when you watch it, it just becomes clear, because how many times can you give the best advice to somebody else, but you can't take it yourself, or you don't give it to yourself? Because when you're watching it from out here, it's so much easier. So just turn yourself into like your best friend and watch it and you know, give advice from that standpoint.
I love that. And it's that you're not attached when you see it from that standpoint. It's so true. You're detached. You're the observer. Yeah. You're really, like we talked prior on my show, is like actually even before the observer. Yeah. But if you can at least just get to observer, that's so good. Yeah. Such a powerful place to live from. I love that. Well, thank you so much. Thank you so much for being with me. Thanks for coming to the States. So good. Oh my God. I love being here. You guys are awesome. I love catching up with all my peeps. It's been great having you. Yeah. Thank you. Well, thank you so much. And thank you everyone for being here. I trust you got what you needed from today's episode, and I so look forward to having you on the next one. Bye for now.